All right, so you know how sometimes you get those questions, like those really intriguing ones, but
Hmm.
they're kind of tough to really get a handle on?
Yeah, totally.
Well, that's exactly what today is all about. You guys have been asking for a deep dive on saints in the Catholic faith.
A great topic.
A great topic, but can be a little mysterious. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's what we do here, right? We're going to unpack it all,
Yeah.
explore the stories, and hopefully walk away with some new understandings.
I'm all for that.
So before we get into some of those awesome stories, we got to start with the basics. You know,
Hmm.
what exactly is a saint in the Catholic tradition?
Well, in the simplest terms, a saint is someone who the church recognizes as having lived this incredibly holy life, like unbelievably close to God.
Okay.
It's not like you earn points or you get like a, spiritual like celebrity status or something.
Right.
It's about embodying God's love in this like extraordinary way.
So it's not a contest that you win.
Right.
There's a process for this, right?
There is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a contest. The Catholic Church has a very formal process, and it's called canonization. And that involves this deep dive into the person's life. Like you look for evidence of like heroic virtues. Sometimes they even investigate miracles that are attributed to this person's intercession. And actually, the process has a bunch of stages. There's servant of God, venerable, beatification, and finally canonization. And each of those stages has its own like checklist of requirements and investigations. It's a
Wow.
long process.
That makes total sense. So now that we kind of have a handle on who saints are, uh, why are they so important in the Catholic faith?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's really important to remember that Catholics don't worship saints.
Okay.
Instead, we look to them for inspiration. They're like role models, almost like they're spiritual mentors kind of guiding us towards God.
Hmm.
And what I think makes it so cool is that these weren't superhuman people. These were people who lived, they had their own challenges. They had their own issues and struggles, and yet their faith just like shone through.
Do you think some people might have a hard time relating to that, though? I mean, their lives often seem so, well, saintly.
Yeah, I totally understand that. But I think the struggles make their stories even more powerful. You
Yeah.
look at a saint like Saint Oscar Romero.
Okay.
This guy knew that speaking out against like all the violence that was happening in El Salvador could get him killed,
Oh, wow.
but his faith just fueled his courage. And he teaches us that holiness isn't about avoiding the hard things, it's about choosing love and justice even when you're terrified.
That's a powerful example. Finding strength and guidance from their example. You mentioned this word intercession before.
Hmm.
What's that all about?
Right. That's like the core of how Catholics connect with the saints. We believe that because they're in heaven with God, they can actually pray for us. You can almost think of it like having this lifelong friend who always has your back.
Hmm.
You know they know you well. They're always saying good things about you, even when you're not around.
I like that. That's a really cool way to put it. That really adds another dimension to their role in the faith. Now, I know there's a lot of saints throughout history, each with their own stories and everything.
Hmm.
Can we look at a couple of the diverse examples just to kind of see how sainthood can manifest in different ways?
Yeah, absolutely. So we already talked about St. Oscar Romero, who was all about social justice. But now think about someone completely different, like St. Teresa of Avila.
Okay.
She was a nun back in the 16th century, known for these like mystical experiences she had and some really profound writings that she did about prayer.
Mystical experiences.
Yeah, she would just go so deep into prayer and contemplation. I mean, you could almost like imagine the kind of stillness and focus it takes to have those kinds of experiences.
Wow.
It really makes you think about the different ways that we can connect with the divine.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So interesting.
So we've got the saints championing social justice. We've got others exploring the depths of prayer. It's a pretty wide spectrum. How do Catholics actually interact with saints in their daily lives? Oh, there's so many ways. People might pray to a certain saint for something that they need or maybe for someone else.
Okay.
They might visit a shrine that's dedicated to a certain saint.
Yeah.
Or maybe they find inspiration by just reading about their lives. You've probably heard of patron saints.
Oh, yeah. Like patron saints of professions and stuff.
Exactly. So like Saint Francis of Assisi.
Yeah.
He's known as the patron saint of animals and the environment. And then you've got someone like St. Luke, who's the patron saint of doctors. It's a really cool way to take your everyday life and connect it to your faith.
I like that. This whole deep dive has really been eye-opening. It's so clear that saints aren't like these mini gods.
No, not at all.
They're just people.
Oh,
But they led these extraordinary lives of faith. And they give us inspiration and guidance and this really powerful connection to something bigger than ourselves.
you said it perfectly.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you guys with one final thought.
Yeah.
If you could ask a saint for advice on something you're going through right now, a challenge you're facing, who would you choose and why?
Ooh, good question.
It's something to think about as we finish up our deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring.